Before I could finish my last hello, she, without looking at me, said, "Sorry, I'm not interested." Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Today I want us to talk about a topic that I feel is very important, especially to men who are interested in self-growth and improving their dating life. And of course, I'm talking about confidence. You might have already heard from other people who say confidence doesn't just happen. Confidence follows actions. All that is true. In this video, I want to share some of my own personal experiences going from a man who knew that he wanted something, but just didn't have the confidence to follow through, didn't really believe in himself, what actions I took, what mindset I had to imply, and hopefully you can find something that's useful for you either out of everything that we're going to talk about, or just pick one or two and start applying those in your life and finding yourself cultivating confidence in areas that are meaningful to you. A while back, when I had committed to getting to understanding women, how to attract them, and how to date the kind of women that I found drop dead gorgeous or just beautiful and attractive to me, I had no idea where to start. So I did what any other self-respecting guy would do. Started picking up books and reading. The first book I picked up was The Game by Neil Strauss, followed by How to Be a 3% Man and even No More Mr. Nice Guy. To be honest with you, I still have these books. These books are packed with knowledge. But back then, I recall even 6 months after having read these books, I was still frustrated in my dating life. And even with all the knowledge that I'd acquired, I still had nothing going on. From all the reading I had done, I knew what to do, where to do it, and how to do it. But the missing link was actually taking action. So with all the frustration that was harboring within me, I recall having made a promise to myself that I would approach any woman that I considered to be beautiful that was anywhere close enough to be able to talk to. The very same day I made that promise to myself, I had to meet somebody. I was doing a deal, a Craigslist deal, and I was meeting somebody at a Starbucks. When I got there, I recall seeing this woman sitting at a patio studying. I thought she was just, simply put, drop dead gorgeous, and I remember the promise I made to myself. I knew that I was not going to allow myself to walk away from that area without just at least saying hi to that woman. Long story short, I walk to this woman. I say hello, and she doesn't respond. She's still writing down on her notebook while working. She wasn't wearing any earphones, so I knew that she could hear me. At least that's what I thought. 3 seconds went by. I was like, "Excuse me." Crickets, nothing. So I decided to say hello again. Before I could finish my last hello, she, without looking at me, said, "I'm not interested." I collected myself, walked back to my car, and I started laughing. And the reason why I was laughing was because at that moment, I realized that the fear that I had for approaching beautiful women was actually way over exaggerated than the rejection that I was fearing. I read a book recently called The Personal MBA, and there's an area where the author talks about doomsday scenario, where when we externalize the things that we fear the most, we start to understand that they're just an over exaggeration of what we think might have happened. He equates that to giving a flashlight to a kid who fears monsters under their bed, only to see that there was actually nothing to be worried about. What I want to share with you in this video is some activities that you can do, some actions you can take, some mindsets you can employ so that you can cultivate confidence in areas that mean the most to you. This doesn't just have to be with your dating or relationship lives. This can also translate to other areas in your lives that are meaningful. Confidence gained in one area of your life can be used in other areas that are just as meaningful. The first way for you to boost your confidence level is embracing accountability and responsibility. Now, what I'm about to say next might sound a little bit contradicting. We have very little control over what happens in our lives. You might be saying, "Evans, if you say that we have very little control, how can you sit there and also say that we should be accountable for things that are happening in our lives?" What I've come to realize over the 30-some years that I've been alive at this point is what happens to us doesn't have as big of an impact as how we respond to those things that happen in our lives. What I'm trying to say is things will happen in your life that you cannot control. Self-accountability is about saying, "I am responsible for whatever has happened." Responsibility is about saying, "I'm going to take what has happened and learn from it and use it so as to create the kind of life that I want." Let me share a thing with you that a lot of people don't know about me. I grew up cross-eyed until when I was 17 years old, and that really rock-bottomed my confidence. I was not able to look at people straight in the eye and have conversations, especially especially when it came to women or girls that I found beautiful. And if you're wondering how I got rid of my cross-eyedness, surgery when I moved to Canada. And even after having that surgery, my level of confidence never bounced back to where I thought it was going to. I was always telling myself that the reason why I'm not dating the kind of women that I want to is because I'm cross-eyed and most girls would not find me attractive. I'm going to expand a little bit on the story that I told a little bit earlier about my first rejection. That same day that I had gotten rejected for the first time in public at a Starbucks, I went to the beach and I was continuing on that venture on the quest of getting rejected as many times as possible so as I can get rid of that fear of rejection. And one of the girls that I approached, she was with a friend, but I invited her out for a drink. And her response was, "No, thank you. I just got out of a relationship. So I'm trying to take this time to heal." And I did not push back on that. I was like, you know what? That's very noble. I totally hear you. And I started chatting with her. But 20 minutes later, while I was talking to her and her friends, she was making out with another guy that I knew for sure was not her boyfriend or was not the guy that she had just broken up with. And also, she was not that drunk. So it was not like she was not all there as far as presence wise. That for me was a learning moment. There was something about my energy that she did not really jive with. And I also took responsibility for the fact that I could now use this to change the way I approached women. Instead of me being very tense, there was something about the way I approached her that seemed a little bit needy, and my responsibility, the way I responded to that. In the women that I would approach next, I would be mindful of the way I showed up, of how much neediness I had, and create an environment that was easy for her to want to get to know, to create an environment that was easy for her to be curious about so that she could say yes to when I ask her out. And that is something that the other guy did that I failed to do. It was hurtful asking this beautiful woman out and 20 minutes later she's kissing another guy. So the accountability part had everything to do with the actions that I took, the energy that I had when I walked up to this woman, and that energy and that neediness leading to failure. The responsibility was seeing the things that the other guy did, seeing that what I did not give me the results I wanted, and changing that with the next woman so that it takes me closer to what I actually want. The thing that gives us happiness is not getting what we want, but seeing the progress of how better we are getting. That journey, the confidence that we get to getting there is what gives us more joy and more happiness. So with everything in your life that is meaningful, embrace accountability and responsibility. Another way for you to gain confidence in life is having a sense of purpose or having a passion that you're dedicated to on a regular basis. You don't have to be one of those people who feels like you have a calling towards something, that something is really pulling you towards it. This is more about finding meaning in your day-to-day life, no matter where you happen to be, no matter what age you happen to be at this moment. Here's a simple truth that I hold dear. It's better to be busy than bored. When your day-to-day efforts feel like they don't have a sense of direction, it's very easy for you to feel lost in there. So my urge to you is get out there and try new things. This week it could be playing a guitar. Next week it could be cooking, or it could be a woodworking project. The key thing here is picking up something that's going to require you to show up on a regular basis so that you will create a sense of progress as you go about learning this new activity. In my early 20s, for me, finding that sense of confidence was with photography. I remember picking up photography just because I saw people posting pictures about places and things they did, but they just lacked a certain level of detail. They did not really draw me in. So I picked up a camera and started learning anything from how the camera works. What is an aperture? What is shutter speed? What is this? What is that? And before I knew it, that led me to hiking on a regular basis. After hiking, it was where else could I go travel and explore? And that gave me this passion for wanting to go to different parts of the world and learning about what happens there. What is it that's different with these people? How can I learn from their cultures or from their philosophies or the way they go about life and apply that in my own life so as to just improve my life that one tiny percent? And for you, again, it could be anything that's around you. It doesn't have to cost anything, but just get out there, find something that you can do that will require you to show up on a regular basis so that you can see progress. And when you get this sense of confidence that comes from you actually doing things, it carries this aura. It's like seeing somebody and saying, there's gotta be something about this person that's very special. They're trying new things that are meaningful to them at this point in their lives that they're very proud of. And when you have that presence, that mystique, that level of confidence, it kind of is magnetic. It pulls people towards you. You just attract people, and people want to know more about you or the things that you're really passionate about. The more you master something, the more confident you get. This just bleeds into other areas. It can bleed into other areas that you find meaningful. Another way that I'm thinking about that you can improve your confidence, you can boost your confidence, is taking time to think, taking time to understand that this is how my brain, my sense of being, my essence responds to this and that thing, so that you can sit down and choose where you want your attention to go. What I've come to appreciate about spending some time alone and thinking is it allows you to align your priorities. It allows you to say no to things that are not as meaningful and saying yes to things that you really want to spend time on. It allows me to say no to parties and get-togethers with people that I have very little commonalities with, or I can learn or teach anything to, and say yes to spending time with friends who really fill up my bucket. Oftentimes, getting this time where you can sit down and think for yourself also creates a platform for you to evaluate where you can set boundaries at. Especially when it comes to dating, setting boundaries is very important. If you're seeing a woman that is, let's say, being very flaky, this allows you to say, I do not accept that. If she's canceling dates on a regular basis, not giving you as much attention as much as you're giving her, this is where you can say, I choose not to spend time with you, and I'll give my time to somebody else. If you don't take time to really reflect on your self-worth, on what you allow and what you do not allow in your life, and set proper boundaries, it's very hard to get to that point. And every so often in life, we make these impulsive decisions to do something. The time you take to pause gives you space to respond to these impulses that you're having, so that you're not making decisions that you're going to regret at some point in the future. And the more clear decisions you make, the more confident you get as a man, and the better decisions you're going to make in the future. So every day, if you can, take about a 10-15 minute time where you just sit with your thoughts and see, how am I feeling? What are the things that are aligned with me right now? All these things will take a little bit of time for you to get to, but you have to give yourself time and space to think before you can act, so that you can make decisions that you're going to be proud of, which will boost your confidence level as time goes by. Another thing you can do to bring confidence in your life at this moment is deliberately do difficult things. Do hard shit on a regular basis. For me personally, I'm going to share at this point in my life, it's challenging myself physically during workouts and taking cold showers on a regular basis. I'm always standing outside of the shower asking myself, why am I doing this? But because I know the benefits I'm going to get from that, I do them regardless. It's never easy, but it challenges me on a regular basis, especially mentally. We all have limiting beliefs in our lives. What happens when you deliberately do hard things is you put yourself in a place where you're always ready to take action on the things that are necessary, on the actions that are necessary, even when they're not comfortable. There are a lot of things that you will have to do in life that the perfect time will never present itself, but that doesn't mean that you should just keep putting them off until when that perfect time comes up. This also gives you a sense of pride where it's like, holy shit, I didn't think I was capable of following through with that. I didn't think I was going to be able to approach that woman because maybe I thought she was out of my league, like what some guys say, but you went ahead and did it anyways. And when you're constantly challenging yourself in that way, it also makes you more adaptable. When you do hard things on a regular basis, your mindset is, I'm embracing this. It makes you more adaptable to even when things don't go your way. Let's say you approach a woman like I did and you get rejected. It gives you a mentality of, how can I adapt to these results so as to make them more beneficial for me at whatever is happening at this moment. So the more you deliberately do hard things, the more adaptable you become to when things don't go your way. It also makes you show up even when circumstances are not as perfect as you want them to be. And every so often, almost every day, you will be presented by challenges that you have to make the right decision. But as long as you know why you're doing them and you do them regardless, especially when they're hard, it's like a muscle. The more you do hard things, the more you build the capacity to do hard things. And that skill that maybe you're doing like right now with approaching women that you find attractive, even when you're not as comfortable doing it, or taking a cold shower, it can also be applied to other areas in your life, like having difficult conversations and doing the right thing when you need to. Not because it's easy, but because you know it's necessary. Another activity that I picked up that was very profound in my life and still is to this day is meditating. And when you meditate as a man, it allows you to put things in perspective. What meditation did for me was say, hey, if this works out for for you, awesome. It's the efforts that you put that led to this, and that. If this did not work out for you, that is perfectly fine as well. It's not the end of the world. But before I started meditating, I was just being controlled by emotions and the highs and lows of life without having that holistic perspective in things. And when you're trying new things like I'm advising you to do, you will find sometimes that failures will take you very, very low to a point where your confidence is shattered completely. But when you're meditating and reflecting on those things on a regular basis, it allows you to, of course, be a human being in those moments and feel bad. There's nothing wrong about that, but not allow yourself to stay down there because you understand the magnitude that those things have, where they do not define your life. You're the one who gives the meaning to those things. And over time, it will allow you to pick yourself up during those hard times. It will also allow you to stabilize those highs a little bit so you're not feeling all almighty because you succeeded in some areas. The reflection that happens during meditation, the ability for you to go from being surrounded by your environment and reacting to it to saying, I can create an environment within me. That ability to master yourself, which meditation has a good way of building that skill, is very, very important to feel confident, not just in your dating life, but just in being able to control your emotions. That is very important for any man who is in self-growth, who wants to get better, who wants to have a higher quality of life. Meditation for me, no matter what form it takes, is of high importance. And I very highly recommend people to meditate for at least 5 to 10 minutes every day so you can keep that perspective machine sharp and ready for you whenever you need it. Another very profound behavior that I implemented that boosted my confidence level was reading nonfiction books. We all have very limited experiences just by ourselves, but when we open ourselves to the world of books that are out there, there are people who have had amazing, extraordinary lives and they have shared them with us. Don't limit your experiences or the life you're going to have in the future to the experiences that you've had in the past. I grew up in Africa, as I've mentioned. When I went to high school, I went to Catholic school. There was very low financial resources where I was going. When I moved to Canada, it was now you could hold hands with your girlfriend, walk down the hallway and make out in front of a teacher and nobody would say a thing, which was unheard of in my world, especially having gone to a Catholic school in Uganda. And at the same time, I could work a job that paid me thousands of dollars a month. And to me, that opened up an avenue of financial resources that I never had. But my mentality was still coming from a place that lacked money, that lacked that sense of connecting or confidence being around women that I found attractive or girls that I found attractive at that age when I moved to Canada. It took me a while to kind of dig myself out of that, but a lot of people tend to lock themselves mentally to how they grew up. If you happen to want to learn more about dating and relationships because you don't have the kind of relationship situation that you would be proud of, there are people who wrote books, who do seminars, who put videos on YouTube like what you're watching right now that will share that knowledge. For me, when I wanted to learn about being confident and having higher standards and demanding more for myself, I picked up the book by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within, and it was one of the first books I read. And that gave me a window to a world or to a way of existing that I never thought was possible. And when you go read these books, the one thing that will be even more impactful than you picking up a reading habit is going to be implementing, taking actions on the things you read about. There is no point in accumulating all that knowledge if there is nothing that you're going to do to implement it in your own life. Another habit that I picked up that was very important to me in the growth aspect and also in boosting my confidence is surrounding myself with supportive people. You probably have people around you who love you dearly. You might be surprised how many of them actually want you to stay the same. But the more you realize that you don't have the kind of life that you want, the kind of life that you're proud of, and you start changing, these people are going to try to pull you down so that you don't remind them of the inaction that they're living in. You will have to decide at some point. You will have family members who will want you to stay the same. You'll have friends who will want you to stay the same. And you'll have other friends who will see what you're doing and be empowered and be motivated to also learn and grow with you. Or you'll see people who are already at a level that you want to be, and they will pull you up with them. So be very mindful on the people you choose to surround yourself with, because those will impact the quality of life that you're going to have. And at the same time, don't force yourself to be in these loyalty packs where I've known this person for my entire life. So if they tell me to do something, if they tell me to show up, if they tell me to be a certain way, like getting drunk or just being irresponsible in one way or another, you just end up doing it because you have known them and you're loyal to them. That's not how life works. At some point, you're responsible for your own life. You're responsible for the quality of life that you're going to have. And the more you surround yourself with people who support you, the more they're going to encourage you to do better better for yourself. The more you do better for yourself, the more confidence you're going to have as you go out there in the world and do things that are meaningful to you. I promised you a bonus thing. This is something that I feel like everybody should do. Go out there and learn partner dancing. This is one of the most biggest gems out there when it comes to boosting confidence, especially for guys who are interested in self-growth or in dating and improving their dating and relationship lives. And there's different forms of them. You could choose salsa, you could choose kizomba, you could choose bachata. What they do is they bring you closer to women. Most of us are very afraid, we are very tense when it comes to being at close proximity with women we find sexually attractive. And what partner dancing do, it normalizes that environment. It puts you in those scenarios on a regular basis. And take kizomba, for example. It's a partner dance originated from Angola. So you connect from a chest. If the lead is nervous or one of you is nervous, you will feel the energy between the two of you. And the cool thing with this is that it actually allows you to control your presence, something that nobody can see but they can feel, especially when they're that close to you. It allows you to keep calm, collected, so that you can enjoy the dance with the person, with the follower that you're dancing with. So if you're dancing with a woman and you have her right here and you're tense, she's gonna feel it. It becomes a really nice practice for you to control your energy. And over time, the more you learn to dance, the more you learn to connect, because that's what it's all about. It's going to teach you to be able to control your energy, to be able to control your presence, so that you can show up in a certain way. There is such an impactful way of being when it comes to dancing that I feel that every man who is not as good with women should give it a shot. So those are some of the activities that I have partaken, that I have done to improve my confidence level. If there is something that you feel that I have not talked about that maybe helped you, that took you from where you were in any area of your life that you wanted to gain confidence in to where you are right now that you might feel confident in that area and I have not talked about it. If there's a behavior that you implement, please put it down in the comment section below. And I want to know, if you happen to implement any of the behaviors that we have just talked about in this video, which one is it for you and what kind of impact is it having in your life right now? So thank you very much for watching to the very end. If you find value in these videos, please consider subscribing. That encourages me to keep making more of these videos and to keep sharing more of these dating, relationship tips, and self-growth advice so that you can have the kind of life that is meaningful, impactful, and one that you would love to be in. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in another one. Bye-bye.